This one's for anyone who thinks they don't have the skills, knowledge, or confidence to make an offer on somebody's house that's below market value in rough shape and be able to pass it off to an investor and make $17,000. Our guest, Wes Branch, was 18 when he did his first wholesale deal, making $1,700 from a lead that he saw on Craigslist. But then he went on to actually strategically look for more properties, and he did really, really well. He's 8 years in. He's done 300 plus deals and used his skills and knowledge and cash to build a rental portfolio that will end up paying him passively when he decides he's done acquiring properties. So this is the podcast for 10xing your income and quitting your W-2, replacing that income with wholesaling real estate. My name is David Lecco, and I created a process that's helped people like you close their very first deal in all 50 states more than 10,000 times now. And my co-host is Ryan Haywood, who made $8,500 doing a 14-day wholesaling challenge back in 2019, and he's gone on to do 430 deals. Hey, Wes, how did you make $1,700 on your very first wholesale deal?
Well, it was a cold winter day, and I was on Zillow, and I saw a guy. His name was Buck. He had a house on Maple Way, and he had it not only for sale on Zillow, but also on Craigslist. And the description was 3-bedroom, 1 bath, as is. There wasn't a fancy description. There was nothing sexy about it. I was like, all right, this is my type of guy right here. So I called him up. He'd inherited the property from his mother, and he was trying to get rid of it. He was doing everything he knew to do. You know, he had it on Zillow and Craigslist, like I said, and those were kind of the hot ways to sell a property as is at the time if you were doing it yourself. And met him over there. And long story short, I was in a local RIA. I had a guy come out with me the next time I went over there. We had him sign a contract, and we ended up JVing on the deal with a joint venture. And he brought the buyer, I brought the seller, and we closed it in less than 30 days and made $1,700. And that was proof of concept.
How'd you know that was the right price for Buck and you?
So we kind of did somewhat of so Buck had a price that he wanted, of course. You know, it's solid deal, brick home. And really, we had our buyer come in, and he was like, "Hey, I need to be here."
Wait, your buyer?
We need.
Well, you didn't even do a deal yet.
Well, so remember, I was in the local RIA. I'm networking with all the local guys, and they're basically. I was telling about the deal, and I was like, "Hey, like I don't really know what to do. I don't know how this paperwork thing goes. You know, I'm looking for somebody to kind of hold my hand." And so one of the guys in the group, I was 17 at the time. He basically took me under his wing. You know, we went over there and got the contract, and he was like, "Hey, I know a guy that'll pay this for it." It's kind of how it worked out, you know, of course, checking comps and stuff on Zillow too. It wasn't a home run deal for anybody, but, made a few bucks, so it's all right.
Right, you made $1,700.
Oh yeah.
First deal.
I was grinning ear to ear.
So you got it under contract, and then you assigned it to this guy from the RIA?
Yeah. Yep.
But after you had it under contract, you asked him about the price, or before you got it under contract, you asked him about the price?
So before. So we went into it. Buck wanted a certain number, you know, my partner, you know, that I've joint ventured with on, and I put it on a contract, you know, knowing that we'd be able to make a few bucks on top, of course. And, you know, like I said, it was $1,700. It wasn't a home run deal by any means, but proof of concept and off to the races.
So usually somebody could steal that deal away from you, right? But you just had a trusting relationship because you didn't have it under contract, right? Like that other guy could have just gone directly to Buck, but you guys had a trusting relationship from the RIA. So you just had an understanding that wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. I knew the guy quite well. You know, I'd been going to the local RIA for months, you know, just soaking up as much information as I could like a sponge. And, I think I had tried to buy a deal from that guy in the past, and something, he had like title issues on it or something. And that didn't work out to try to do a flip. So this was like kind of like our second go around and do business together.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it worked out good.
Good. So
sorry if you said this already. How long ago did you start? How long ago was this first deal?
So I'm going on 8 years in the real estate business. So I did my first deal at 17. I was still in high school.
Dang.
Yeah. First wholesale deal.
Oh, you were in high school.
Yeah.
Wasn't that weird to think? I mean, that's a young person to be buying a house. How did you actually convince people that was going to work out?
Yeah, that's a good question. kind of just had the confidence that I was going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, it was definitely, I think they might have thought that, you know, maybe my family had money, which is not the case.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they maybe thought my family was in real estate, something to that nature. But again, not the case. Just kind of went in there and kind of, you know, acted like I knew what I was talking about.
Where did you get that confidence, and were you born with it?
Well, you know, I like to solve problems, you know. So when I see somebody's got a problem property, I'm like, hey, I know the solution. I'm like, hey, look, I know how to fix this problem. So that kind of gives me a little bit of confidence, know that I can help them. But, you know,
But you did it back then.
well, but so I had been studying, you know, for probably about a year. I've been watching, you know, listening to podcasts weren't really like a hot thing back then, but, you know, finding stuff on YouTube, reading books, going to those pop-up events, you know, the guys on the radio, come down and learn how to real estate invest and go to the RIAs. So I'd been studying for about a year before I'd ever did my first deal.
So what was motivating you in high school when you're just supposed to be a kid? What are you doing?
I remember I was at a friend's house one summer, and he opened his sock drawer and he pulled out a wad of cash and he said, check this out. And I said, whoa, how'd you get that? He said, I cut my neighbor's grass all summer and I saved it all. I was like, we should go into business together and start a lawn care business. We can make all kinds of money. He was like, nah. So I did it myself and just started. I was just enthralled with you know,
With lawn?
making a bunch of money. Yeah, just lawn care, right? Or just cutting grass, right? That was what I would do. I got a truck trailer. At one point, I was maybe cutting 30 yards a week as a 16, 17-year-old kid. My dad used to drop me off in the neighborhood before I could even drive. And I would rip around the neighborhood, cut everybody's yard. He'd come pick me up, go to the next neighborhood. It was great. But, you know, in the time while I'm sitting there, I was listening to books and listening to podcasts, you know, on headphones and stuff. And that's when I learned about wholesaling real estate. And I listened to as much of it as I could. And I was like, all right, this winter, I'm going to do a wholesale deal. And so that first winter, you know, because you don't cut grass in the winter, I didn't do a wholesale deal that winter because, well, I just didn't take enough action to do so. But that following winter I did, and that was a deal that I did with Buck and the partner. But, you know, there was about a year of education in there. And it's good stuff.
Yeah, so you were motivated by your friend's wad of cash. And you were kind of like leveling up from the business you'd already started to that you thought would be more lucrative.
Yeah, you know, I kind of sat around and I figured, well, if I put, you know, the amount of time that I'm putting in cutting lawns into myself and trying to find a wholesale deal, all I got to do is one deal. And so I was just kind of like calculating some numbers on hours into it. Like, there's no way I don't do at least one deal this summer. So, or this winter, whatever it was. And, yeah, obviously the $1,700 deal was not it, but.
Well, your friend had easily put his cash in the sock drawer. What'd you do with your $1,700?
What did I do with my $1,700? My goodness, I don't remember. At the time, I was already making great money cutting grass, so it was just, you know, it wasn't like a big influx of money for me at the time. But I probably started to figure out how to market a little bit. That was kind of the next step after we started to figure that out.
Yes, because Craigslist was a cheap, free way of actually finding work. But I'm guessing you didn't have a ton more bucks at that time on Craigslist. It just kind of comes up, right? So you had to do something proactive to find more people that had a house they wanted to get rid of. Would you remember what you did at first?
So still one of my favorite ways to find deals is dropping $4 and using the DealMachine app and going out to the neighborhood that you already know. You know, likely whoever's listening to this, you know, and you guys included, there's a house in between where you're at and your home that you pass by on a regular basis that's beat up, broken down, probably vacant, that you see all the time. You're like, man, I wonder who owns that. I love calling on those houses. You know, I write them on all the time. I've got a group chat with my team here. And anytime I'm out looking at the property, I'll text 4 or 5 addresses, you know, when I'm going through a new neighborhood and, you know, have them look up, see who owns it, give them a call, see if they're ready to sell it.
Hey guys, you can get the contact info, including phone number and email address and income and relatives for no additional cost inside the DealMachine app. We provide this to you unlimited number of times. And you can actually export 10,000 if you're on the starter plan of DealMachine, or 20,000 if you're on the pro plan of DealMachine. And you can start a 7-day free trial at DealMachine.com/pod. And if you use that link, you're going to get $35 for direct mail as well.
So love the strategy of drawing for dollars.
What do you say when you call those people? Hey, your house is really ugly.
Well, we've got I guess a pretty streamlined process and script that we'd like to follow, just so that it's predictable, but simple. Goes to the tune of hey, we just bought a property in the area. We're calling to see if you have any interest in selling yours here at 123 Main Street, and then they'll respond however they do. It's either yes, no, or maybe. And we follow up with them no matter what they say. Yes, no, or maybe. We follow up with them forever, for years.
Yeah,
Follow
I
up.
love how simple that is.
Yeah.
Well, you moved on from grass because you wanted something more lucrative, but I noticed after 8 years, you haven't moved on from wholesaling.
Yeah.
It's doing pretty well for you, it sounds like.
We've evolved. Yep. Yeah. So we love the wholesale business. It's a great way to generate income and generate deals too. So we've kind of evolved into buying rental properties and buying flips locally and stuff like that, and into new markets, and kind of expanding our wings a little bit.
Why didn't you start with buying rental properties?
Well, temptation that. So my brother is my business partner, and so he's let's buy rentals. Let's flip and wholesale everything. I'm like, I need a Lamborghini, Jake. I don't need rental properties. I'm 17, 18, 19, having these thoughts. And so we were able to acquire some private lenders early, and family friends. And basically, when we first started, we did that first wholesale deal. We ended up buying a flip, made some money there, and then we're like, well, hey, we can buy rentals too. And so we're running around thinking that we're wholesalers, flippers, and buy and hold landlords. And it took about 1.5 years to realize, okay, we're doing horrible at all of these things. We need to really focus. We were painting at the flip or at one of the rentals, and then the phone's ringing. We've got leads calling us. We've got the VA team cold calling leads. And, we're trying to answer. You can't answer the phone when you're painting. You got paint on your hands. Doesn't work. So it took a while to realize we need to focus. And wholesaling was a solution because we figured, if we can get really good, find an off-market, deep discounted real estate, we'll have no problem doing whatever we want with that deal once we figure that out. So we got good at that. And that's kind of been our bread and butter. So we do that here in Louisville and Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky as well. And we've recently kind of expanded to some more states.
And wholesaling generates the cash that you could use for buying rentals as well.
Yeah, it certainly can. All of our deals are BRRRR, no money down real estate. But
because the deal's so
you get stuck on a couple. Right, because the deal's so good, because we got so good at finding a great off-market deal.
All driving for dollars, or have you added other types of ways of finding motivated sellers?
So I'll tell you, 1/3 of our deals come from driving for dollars up until, so in 2022, I'll say for sure, 2022 and most of 2023, 1/3 of our deals come from driving for dollars. And, of course, we buy all the lists that, everyone knows about and has access to, and just kind of hit those as much as we can with cold call, text, and stuff like that. So like high equity, absentee owner, vacant. I love vacant and liens because they're usually a little bit more incentivized to close or to close quick, because we want money today. Out of state landlord's great.
They haven't paid some type of bill.
Yeah, basically. So I like city liens. Usually those are indicators that like the neighbor is called or like the code enforcement has drove around, and they call them IPLs or in our market here. But it's basically like, there's trash in the yard, or there's, the doors are open, they need to be boarded up, or the lawn's too tall, or the gutter's hanging, or the siding's falling off, the sign of distress, because I don't know about you guys, but none of that's going on at my house or at any of our rental properties. We keep it tight whenever it's in order.
For sure. If you guys are looking for real estate data, DealMachine is the data source for real estate professionals. One of the latest data updates we got was unlimited contact info. So any property you're looking at, you could see who's renting it and who owns it. And you could see their phone number, email, you could see their average household income. So there's been wild use cases I'd never imagined for realtors, for example, who said, wow, do you mean I could look for renters who've been renting for a long time that have a high net worth that may want to buy a house? And that's exactly how people are using this in ways I never imagined. Usually on the investor side, we're trying to ask if they'd like an offer on their house. So of course you could do that too. And we've got 300 filters you can look for in terms of pre-foreclosures, in terms of liens, like Wes mentioned, where these people have a lien against their house because they had some type of settlement in a lawsuit, or they did not pay a contractor. In other words, they didn't make a payment somewhere, so they would really probably prefer a cash offer on this house. They don't have a lot of time to get the max value by listing it with an agent. So check out DealMachine.com/pod to start a 7-day free trial and see what all this data can get for you. And if you use that code, you're going to get $35 of direct mail marketing as well included.
Yeah.
Ryan, does this sound like similar strategy to how you look for properties?
Yeah, I think Wes and I's strategy and way of investing lines up pretty good now. I mean, the wholesaling, keep the best, wholesale the rest. Once you get to a point where you can actually do that, to me, I think it's like, I think it depends on what your end result, what you want to be. Like, how do you want this to go? Do you want to continue? Because in a way, you can create another 9-to-5 out of wholesaling. Like, if you become so dependent on getting that next deal to feed yourself, to me, I feel like that's not the idea. The idea is wholesale is a way to generate money quickly, but like, you need to be looking and considering, like, what is next? How can I make this to where I'm making a bunch of money and not depending on, man, I got to go out there and drive for dollars every day for the rest of my life. Like, is that the goal? So I think Wes and I share similar paths and similar thoughts in finding the best deals, taking those best deals a different route, and wholesaling a bunch of other stuff too, just to keep cash coming in. So gives you a bunch of opportunities.
Wes said that he had some people working for him. So, it was one of those to drive for dollars, Wes? Or what did they do?
So early, we had some physical driving for dollars guys that would go out and locally go out and drive. But we just do it all virtual now. We've got a VA in the Philippines. I think we pay them $4 an hour, and they just zoom around with the keypad. We like to go with the areas where they have most updated, because obviously on Google it shows you, when it was updated last time at the bottom.
Right. So DealMachine, you're using the virtual driving option.
Right. Yeah. Going in and just driving, and then click, add them all up, and that's their job. And then boom, upload them, skip trace them. There you go. Yeah.
What other people do that work for you?
So we're really focused on like removing ourselves from like the day-to-day operations. So we've got pretty much all facets covered. Acquisitions, my brother and I handle like the marketing still, like that's kind of our main focus as far as day-to-day goes. So we've got acquisitions, dispositions, and transaction coordination all covered. And those are, just the general moving parts, acquiring the deal, selling the deal, and then the TC, transaction coordinating, they just basically the glue that holds everything together, getting it to the closing table. So we've got a few people on acquisitions, and then one guy that does dispo TC. He just kind of does both.
Okay, and dispo is the act of selling your wholesale deal.
Right, to your investor.
How does he do that? Like, where do these buyers come from? How does he sell it to them?
So we use Investor Lift a lot lately, so we just got it, and it's going pretty good so far.
How does that work?
So yeah, it's almost like Zillow, but for off-market deals. So there's a ton of off-market deals on there. Wholesalers, investors upload their deals, and then it's a marketplace for investors to come and to source off-market deals at the click of a button. You can make offers right there on the spot, and instead of going out to find deals, there's wholesalers nationwide, almost in every market.
How does that change your cost per lead or per deal versus building your own buyers list?
Yeah, what is the cost?
Having your own buyers list versus having Investor Lift, how does that change the cost per deal?
So
because it's kind of expensive, I think, right?
I mean, it's so I think we paid $6,000 for it, and that's for the year. So you just pay up front for it. So it's, not super expensive if you're actually working and doing deals and growing a team. The reason we got it is because we're moving into a more nationwide model, and we don't have buyers in Chicago and in Gainesville, Florida, and in Sacramento, California. So that's why we did it. But of course, locally we built up a buyers list through Facebook and going to local meetups and RIAs. If you're going to do the local route, local business, which we've done for 7 years, we just recently switched to this nationwide model. I like to get out belly to belly and be consistent in the marketplace, meeting people, because then who's doing deals, especially like the market I'm in, Lowell. There's about 1 million people here. It's not a huge market, so you get to know people pretty quick, and then you know who the movers and shakers are, and then you can just start calling people and say, "Hey, I got this deal for you."
So
They'll buy it for.
I noticed you said you just went nationwide. 8 years in, how many deals had you done locally before you decided to go nationwide?
I don't have a deal counter going, but it's well over 350, probably closer to over 400, probably.
Why did you decide that now was the time to go nationwide?
So we've been cold calling and doing like cold outreach the whole time. A little bit of direct mail here and there. Nothing super consistent to see amazing results from. And I'm looking at our output, our team's output, as far as like how much time we spend on the phone, how many people we call, how many deals we have, how many leads we have to come into the system before we get a deal or a contract. And I'm hearing these guys that do inbound marketing talk about their numbers being a fraction of ours. And I'm like, well, let's give that a try, because I like the idea of being able to do more deals with less leads, because it's just easier on everybody. And so we made the shift, and so we're running, Google Ads doing the PPC and the pay-per lead model nationwide, and we are locking up more projected profit like in the past couple of weeks than we would in like a month. So it's
for a new
going really well for us. So.
Is that a good strategy, or should they do locally first, in your opinion?
In my opinion, you should do locally first for sure. Get your feet wet, get down several deals, because we know how to do a deal. There's no doubt about it. We know how to work title. We know what happens, how to do, handle situations that come up that are maybe issues, that'd be kind of hard to handle remotely. How to have those tough conversations with sellers and title companies and other people in the market. I'd say definitely start local. But if you got a budget and throw $15,000 a month at PPC, and you've got some business experience and you know how to communicate, it might be a good idea to just jump straight in. But, I'd recommend doing some research on it before you do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about kind of an aspirational goal, I think, is you guys are keeping the best properties. So you mean the ones that you've got under contract for the lowest price, you just go ahead and take those down yourself?
So...
how do you decide to take profits over 30 years on a rental versus all that cash up front?
Yeah.
If it's a really great deal, you could have sold it for $50,000 of cash. You know what I mean?
That's a good question. And it really, how my brother and I analyze that is just kind of deal by deal. It depends on what's going on, what's closing that month, or what's slated for this quarter, or what we've got going on, is kind of something that we'll take into account. The other thing is, it's like, well, if we can make $30,000 wholesaling it to ourselves and still have a ton of equity and it's still cash flow at today's interest rates, which are, pretty high, then that's kind of a no-brainer, So we get to keep the deal, and then we don't have to go chase that deal. We'll still get that trickle. Then once it's paid down, we'll get another payday on it later, in 5-10 years when it appreciates and we go refinance. So we are in favor of keeping them as often as possible, locally, of course. When it will still cash flow, because, not all of them cash flow. We got a deal that we just bought last week that we thought was going to be a wholesale deal at first. And we're like, well, we'll make triple the profit if we flip it or keep it as a rental, as far as having equity. And then we got the penciling out the deal. And we're like, this thing actually doesn't cash flow at all. So not a rental, can't do that. Takes it off the table. And we've already committed to buying it. So we bought it. We're going to flip it on triple the profit.
Gotcha. Well, Wes, do you have a social media? I'm pretty sure you do.
Yes.
Follow you?
Yeah, I do. It's Wes Branch 1 on Instagram. Pretty active on my stories. I was posting quite a bit there for a while. We had a guy running around recording us, and then we kind of started changing some stuff. And I kind of glued myself into the office working on this online stuff, so I haven't been out as much. I haven't been posting much. But yeah, I'd love to follow. You can shoot me a message on there, and I'd help you out in any way I can.
Real quick before we go, both of you are some of the highest performing real estate investors that we've interviewed on the podcast, of course, and Ryan's on every episode. But I found it interesting. You're both actually doing a fast where you're not eating for 72 hours, and Ryan's going for 7 days. So, Wes, why are you doing that?
Well, I heard that it's good for longevity. You know, it cleanses out the body. It's like, what do they call it, Ryan? Cell consolidation or something like that. Your body starts using up all these cells that are non-performers. So I'm just trying to perform at a high level, feel great. I've been working out for a couple months, and I'm just trying to just take my health to the next level and just do this stuff that they call weird, but it's actually really good for you.
Yeah, for me too, like I've set goals for 2024, and health is one that I wouldn't say I neglected. I just didn't put as much time and energy into my health. And, you know, I've done intermittent fasting, and even intermittent fasting, your body goes through a process of cleaning out the bad cells. I've read so many statistics about, you know, people who've done 7-day fasts, you know, 60% less likely to have cancer, 60% less likely to have cognitive diseases. So that to me was like, you know what? That's something that I can put myself through 7 days worth of neglecting food and focusing on doing that in the hopes that it's true, and I am, you know, less likely. Now coming out of that, I have to make sure that I do my job and eating clean and being physically active after that too, because it is like I can't get off of a fast and go out and eat a hearty sandwich like I want to do. So,
well, I'm glad both of you will be around for a long time, and it's helping a lot of people by you taking time to be on this podcast and share that and the real estate story, Wes, that you shared today. Really appreciate that.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Wow, Wes has a great story and a great success in 8 years. For additional listening, check out episode 78 on 25 motivated seller lists so that you can find out where you can find the best motivated sellers and what order to approach them in. And also, episode 95 is on 9 ways to find a buyer. It's been a huge popular episode since the week it came out. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.